Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There it is, so you don't miss any of our football content this season. It has been, if I might say, fantastic. When all your marketing team does is put out fires, they burn out fast. Sifting through leads, creating content for infinite channels, endlessly searching for disparate performance KPIs, all takes a toll. But with HubSpot, you can stop team burnout in its tracks. Plus, your team can achieve their best results without breaking a sweat. With Breeze, HubSpot's collection of AI tools, you can pinpoint the best leads possible, capture prospects' attention with click-worthy content, access all your company's data in one place, no sifting through tabs necessary. It's all waiting for your team in HubSpot. Keep your marketers cool and make your campaign results hotter than ever. Visit HubSpot.com/marketers to learn more. I want to go back to Thursday and talk about one team. So the Chicago Bears. Eberflus has been fired off that insane, egregiously bad coaching snafu. So I saw Caleb Williams Saturday. I went to the Notre Dame USC game, and I sat in Jen Cohen, the athletic director's box. He was there. So was his dad. I said hi to Caleb and talked to his dad for a second. Remember before the draft, I went on the air and I said, I've heard Caleb's got some reservations about the Bears, but he didn't want to be the bad guy. And the next day, Caleb came out and said, no, not true. I'm going to go to the Chicago Bears. I'm going to go to the Chicago Bears. Well, the truth is, Caleb didn't want to hurt his advertising market, his influencer market, and he was going to be a good soldier. But I trusted my source is that, you can't look at the Bears. An educated, reasonable person, and that's Caleb, can't look at the Bears and go, this is a great place to go. And you're seeing basically what we predicted. I was told in the last month by an NFL GM, he thought the McCaskies were the worst owners. Bidwell's second, McCaskey's the worst. They're some of the poorest. Just an odd group. The president, is a former Big Ten president. A lot of opinions, not great on the details, I've been told. Eberflus over his skis. Ryan Poles has done okay. I love the Montez Sweat move. I love that move. Chase Claypool, people take swings and miss. I'm not going to judge him. Some of his drafting, Jalen Johnson. I like the Keenan Allen pickup. I talked to Cole Kmet this weekend. He was in the box with Caleb Williams. There's I don't know if Ryan
Poles extended Kmet. I mean, he's there for a while.
Yeah. I don't know if he drafted him, but he extended him. But this organization, what is happening now is what Caleb and any reasonable person feared, is that I thought Caleb was good enough. He was the only quarterback in this draft like Andrew Luck. Didn't get the right GM, an impulsive owner. His coach got fired. Bad O-line. He was good enough. And Andrew Luck. Now, I don't think Caleb's as good as Andrew Luck as a prospect, but I thought he was one of these top 10 prospects. But the difference is this division is so damn good, is as good as Caleb is. I'm sorry, again, Minnesota's well run. They don't have Super Bowls. I've always felt they're pretty well run. Green Bay's exceptionally run. Detroit now is well run. I worry that Caleb Williams is going to just be stuck having to compensate for an organization that's arguably the weakest in the league because that Andrew Berry is a very good GM in Cleveland. We don't love the ownership, but we like the coach and the GM. I have a feeling here the Bears right now, along with Carolina, and people like Dan Morgan as a GM. They don't love Tepper. Are the Bears the most dysfunctional franchise in the league?
It has to be right up there. I mean, I personally have always thought once you have a lot of money and you run a business and you still are really cheap on things that really matter, like you kind of have a disease
Cincinnati
that holds the business back. Yeah, and I think you see this in all walks of life, even outside of football. Like eventually you got to pivot. Like Walmart, Sam Walton was notoriously very cheap. There came a point in time where he had to pivot with some of the big expenses with the company. And there were stories this weekend, and I gobbled up everything Eberflus, the firing, of them when they interview coaches, they fly them out and they put them in coach. And I had a buddy in the NFL that said when they were interviewing GMs, they put them all on like a shuttle. I mean, just things that in the NFL, in college football at the highest level, that are just viewed like any industry. There are certain standards for the highest level of your CEO, for your head coach, that is pretty embarrassing. And this is a franchise. This guy, a chiropractor at the gym, who just whenever I see him, he loves this Sunday show with me and you. He found me through you, and he's a diehard Bears guy. And he was hammering, the Kevin Warren situation, and he's like, people don't realize this franchise has been owned by this family since the 20s. I would imagine for 60, 70 years, the economics of the league or the McCaskey Papa Hal was a little different than it's become the last 20, 25 years. But philosophically, their thoughts on everything have kind of been engraved, from their grandparents, like the way they think about this. Hell, the is it the grandma or whatever, Virginia McCaskey's like 100 years
Yeah.
old. Do you think she views things like Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman or like Les Snead and Stan Kroenke? How can she compete against that? Jed York's 45 years old, running around with Silicon
How about
Valley people.
this? We knew that Al Davis was a pioneer and a visionary, and in the last 10 years got really murky and bad. Jerry
Yeah.
Jones, visionary, maverick, last 6 to 8 years, that's a bad roster. So those guys weren't, I mean, that was an 8 to 10 year stretch where you're uncomfortable. I feel like Chicago's been like this for 25 years.
And I think whenever you have ownership that doesn't know what they're doing, Kevin Warren is kind of reported this morning that he's running point on the coaching search, and Ryan Poles will assist him. Colin, that is insanity. This is a guy that was hired to run the business and get them a stadium. Yeah. You know the geography of Chicago better than me, but it again, through my buddy, said that they basically laid it all out for him in the suburbs, and they want to stay in the city, yet everything's there for them. They already own the land. It's like, you got to get the stadium built, not hire the coach. That should be Ryan Poles' job and the owner, but the owners want no part of it because they don't know what they're doing. And it's pretty sad. And this is where in the NFL, like Caleb was in a tough spot. This has gone worse than I didn't think it was going to go well. Like I didn't even view him as a playoff team. It's obviously been way worse. It was reported today Jalen Johnson lost it on Eberflus as he just gave his post game. Hey guys, there's adversity. It's like, no, we're not giving the cliche speech anymore in here, Matt. And he should have been fired in January. He should have been fired in January because now you're repeating the same thing over and over. But it's interesting. You go, who's going to want this job? Actually, on paper, it's a pretty good job. They got a lot of players and a GM that comes from Kansas City who's a former offensive lineman. I do think the Kevin Warren thing is as big of a red flag. If I have to answer, Eberflus and Ryan Poles this year answered to him, not the owner. Like Mike Vrabel's hanging up. He's not answering to Kevin Warren. Obviously, Bill, they probably wouldn't even interview them. Ben Johnson's going to have enough leverage. Like, I'm not answering to the team president that does not own the team. In Denver, Penner, who is married into the Walton family, it's like it's all the same umbrella. So it's like, yeah, I answer to him. He is the family, right? It's not. This guy's an independent. This guy could be fired tomorrow, Kevin Warren. And if I'm Vrabel, I have to answer to him, who I don't think knows anything about football. Remember, he was the guy leading the charge to cancel football up through the middle of August. And if it wasn't for Jim Harbaugh and CJ Stroud in the Big Ten, he would have canceled football. And I know there's tumultuous times, especially depending on where you live, but that's something that, to me, that's why Jim Harbaugh was never working with him last year. A lot of people thought that they could hire him. And I just think the Bears, man, they are, that's got to be one of the more embarrassing 3 or 4 game stretches that I ever remember. Like I saw some bad Jim Tom Sula, that year, but he didn't have specific games over and over. It was just a bad, like a joke. But these specific moments on Thanksgiving, I mean, how many people were watching that game? 25 million. The clock just kept ticking. You're like, what's going on?
It's the worst situational coaching I've ever seen in my life. Not, first of all, rookie quarterback against Detroit, short week, but throw him a life preserver. Like if it's year 3, I'm on Caleb's ass. He is a rookie on a short week on the road. Call a timeout. You can see him. Everybody's flailing.
I had a lot of scouting buddies crushing Caleb. Like, he's the quarterback. 21, 22 years old, short week, late in December, never played this long. probably exhausted, had led them
Yes.
back.
Good second
right?
half.
That's the coach. He's the defensive coordinator. He does nothing on offense. His only job is to watch the clock. Clearly, they're discombobulated. They should have he should have called the clock the moment he hit his knee hit the ground when he was sacked. It was a no brainer. And honestly, I was surprised they fired him, weren't you? Or was it just so bad they had no choice? I expected the Bears to play it out the rest of the year.